Welcome to the cipher. Time to let the lions eat. Let's get it.
Y'all just let the boy T1 alone whoop in. Fringe Gang, Blue Ribbon Army. We in this. It's the Lion D and Cypher. Let's get it. You are welcome to the Lions Den. Young lions unleashed. Real Judah, we ready to feast. T1, I'm the wolf of the east. You don't want these problems, these pistols blick like a pistol. These scriptures rip through your tissue. My ox be moving official. Fringe Gang, Blue Ribbon Army. We don't roll with Hollywood. From the wilderness back to the hood, it's real talent coming straight from the wood. I rip and kill these demons. My opposition be screaming, coming for all of the heathen. From Babylon back to England. What's poppin', slime? It's bread and wine. I die in the flesh, refreshed by the bloodline. These Eves in the truth be steady lying. These Jakes in the world be steady dying. Fringe Gang, Blue Ribbon Army. I'm a rep to the death of them. Yeah, boy, we the martyrs. Spit truth to the end begins. I'm coming with apostle doctrine. My verses be popping. All praise to the Abba.
Yes, your flyer, girl. Okay. And exactly what Team One Lone Wolf said.
It looks like you lost another one.
Welcome to the Lions Den. Grab your paper, pencil, pen. Listen to the scholars, get it in. Precept upon precepts without any ad hominems. Coming from the moderator in the den. The best better win. Now the bad side is madness. Newbies acting baddest, saddest. They never kick your status. Regurgitating information that they read from their master. Back and forth, arguing, going off a topic like an outer space rocket. Do me a favor, never catching vapors when they judging you later. Win or lose, that's the grand rules. Arguing with a fool, only make that too. I'm getting him out of his element. He acting like he's selling the document. He telling, be coming over selling. Said I'm dealing with the fellas.
It looks like you lost another one.
Who was this? Make them flip. Got their bodies doing flips. Screaming yop in my sleep. We got them rocks up on my wrist. Niggas pissed cause they never seen a click so too legit. Flip back to a jit. I ain't really know shit, but I thought I knew it. Cause I slaughter music. Take the beat back to my chicken, let her daughter choose it. Lions Den up in the bit. Oh yeah, I thought you knew it. When it come down to debating, ain't no harder to it. Yeah, we go. Mayhem, Dumb, Duffy, Rotonto. You gon' get this truth, nigga, pronto. Sickest in the booth, nigga, tonto. All them nose ass niggas in your group, I think you gonzo. Pick a sister alley-oop like I'm Alonzo. Chicken stick up in my coupe back to the condo. Mixing Chris with Absolute with Alejandra. Take a picture of them views if you want sauce up. Nigga, say it with you, that's if you want cross us. Yasharala on my side, you get tossed up. Guess we got too many wives, they can't like us. They can't like us.
Peace. That was fire. That was fire. The song was fire. What's going on, people? This is your boy, Solarmind. If you don't know me, you can check me out on Solar Vision Debate League. I host debates. But I'm not here to host debates today. I'm here to talk about a very important topic and an individual that likes to promote what I'm going to be talking about today. I'm going to be talking about today the white man's science and the black people that promote this white man's science. So I'm featuring Cedric Ortega, right? The reason why I'm featuring him is because he has been lately at the forefront of promoting the white man science. So I know some people out there may be wondering, what is the white man science? Is science just a thing that is universal? Like when I'm doing an experiment, you know, and I find out that a magnifying glass is, you know, you angle it towards the sun and you put it on a particular object that it could eventually catch fire and burn the object. That's science. What does that have to do with the white man, right? Is science just a universal thing? Why are you attaching white man to science? Very good question. Very good question. I will be getting into the difference between science and the white man science, you know, and Cedric Ortega, right? Cedric, for some reason, he is one of the people that I've seen lately, because there's a lot of people out there doing it. There's a lot of black people out there doing it now, right? He's been one of the people that I've been seeing lately pushing this white man's science. And the reason why he pushes the white man's science is because he's a fool. Those may be harsh words to some people, but it really isn't. I'm just really going by the definition of the word fool. He is easily duped by the white man. He really thinks in his mind that when the white man does his research and when he does his sciences, it's just purely based off of science. That there's nothing funding that particular project. There's nothing that is inspiring while they're doing said research. They're just doing it just because they want to know more about science. So the reason why I would call Cedric and people like him, which is the majority of black people, especially here in the hells of North America, why I would call them fools is because the person that you are so trusting has a history of using different mechanisms, manipulating the delicate fabric of nature in order for his control and advantage in conquering, right? So we're going to dig into that. Science and the white man science. See, science would be, you know, the technology of what they call today gunpowder, because, you know, you could use it for various reasons, right? Really, they accredited the agents for discovering like the use of the actual substance that we today call gunpowder. The reason why we call it gunpowder today is because of the white man science. It's because he took, you know, what can be used for different purposes, and he uses it now, weaponize it, and use it to conquer people. That's a portion of what we're calling the white man science. So we're going to dig into this somewhat, you know. So what's going on with the people? Once again, I go by the name of Solarmind. Shout out to the Lion's Den. And shout out to Karima for hosting this lecture. All right. So let me go ahead and share screen. I may need you to
I got you.
okay. Okay, so let me know when to share.
Yep, it's up there.
Okay, so we're going to get into some things, right? And I'm going to, first deal with it on this level. Something that was in the news. It was a while ago, maybe about a year ago or so. The overturning of Roe v. Wade, right? And I was having discussions with some people, and they were talking about, well, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and for those who are unaware, that is giving the states the power to dictate whether people should get women should get abortions or not. So different states have different rules as to how they're going to implement that, right? So having discussions with certain people, they were saying, well, since they overturned Roe versus Wade, isn't that a good thing? Because Black people are not going to be able to get abortion. Remember, you were saying that, the abortions was designed to lower the Black population, right? And once again, this is another trick by the white man, right? So we're going to dig into why I say that. Now, what you see before you...
In the case about the Black woman that's dead, and due to that law, they cannot abort the baby. So the baby might come out, different conditions, but that law has made it difficult for the family to make a decision on their daughter based on the fact of that law. And now she's over there fully given, the baby is really actually about to be birthed through a dead mom. Like, that's crazy. But carry on.
Yeah, so what you see before you is the different the states and the level of abortions, because they got it color coded, and I wanted to kind of highlight the Black populations, the populations that's the states that are heavily populated by Black people, right? And so what you see is on the far right, the Black population as of 2010 and 2011. And you can see the highlighted areas in which the states that is heavily populated, 20% or more of Black people, right? And when you go into the actual the implementation, to where they are the abortions are being totally restricted, right? And you look to see where the cities in which is heavily populated by Black people is not changing any abortions. That they get full access to having abortions. Most of these cities that are heavily populated by Black people still have total abortion rights. So the reason why they passed this was not because of Black people, because obviously in most of the cities, maybe barring maybe about 2 of these cities that you see before you, they have total access to getting abortion. The ones that don't are in states that's most likely filled heavily populated with white people. So as you see on your left side, the United States map is color coded. So the dark red means that it's near total or totally banned in that particular place, right? And then the tan is 6-week bans, which was not at that time not in effect. The yellow represents 6-week ban in place. So that's the 6-week ban being implemented. And you have like a tannish color. It says abortion providers have suspended service due to law confusion, right? So that's only in one state. That'll be Wisconsin. So the ones that is in gray pretty much means that they have total access to abortion. Now, when you're looking at that northeastern, where it's heavily populated, Harlem, Brooklyn, Newark, Philadelphia, DC, Pittsburgh, they all have full access to abortion. You talk about Michigan, Chicago, Missouri. I know Missouri has a near total ban there. So pretty much I believe that is 2 or 3 out of the states that's heavily populated by Black people. They have access to still getting abortion. As you can see, Oakland and Los Angeles, they have total access. So most of these cities that's heavily populated by Black people still have access to abortion. Why is this important? The banning of the Roe v. versus Wade had nothing to do with preventing Black people from getting access to the abortion. They had more so to do with preventing white people from getting access to abortion, because in America their population is declining, right? So I wanted to preface this discussion with certain things that's being presented to us in the media, and how it has an impact on how we think and what we do, right? So getting into the meat and potatoes of this discussion, I want to first talk about certain theories that we have been accustomed to believing, and why these things should be further researched and challenged, right? We could first deal all with Thomas Robert Malthus. We have to get into the European philosophy, European philosophers, European thinkers, because they set the foundation of how the research is going to go in terms of what they're looking for and what they're expecting out of said research. All right. So this man goes by the name of Thomas Robert Malthus. He was a British scholar, and he came up with a theory that he put in his 6th edition of an essay on the principles of population. Now, when you hear terms like Malthusian, or he's a Malthusianist, or this Malthusian mentality that certain people are, this is how they use it today. Now, it's based off of this man, Thomas Robert Malthus. He came up with an essay on the principle of population, and he posed a theory that if left unchecked, the human population would eventually surpass the Earth's capacity to produce food. This is what they call a Malthusian catastrophe. Now, according to Malthus, it's a natural occurrence that occurs within nature that doesn't allow this to happen, because it pretty much regulates itself through famine, disease, and war. So the reason why throughout history at times we don't have this Malthusian catastrophe is because it'll be some type of famine somewhere where people die off, disease will kill people off, and warfare kills people off, right? So this is what prevents what he considers a Malthusian catastrophe, right? So with that being said, it would be this man, Charles Darwin, that will read the works of Thomas Robert Malthus, and he would say, oh, that's very interesting, because he's doing research on what we eventually would term the theory of evolution. And he said, after reading the works of Malthus on population, he now had a theory in which to work with. What is his theory? His theory is based off of the preservation of favored races in the struggle of life. What does Malthus have to do with that? Well, Darwin is saying, well, if Malthus' theory is true, that means that famine, disease, and war has to kill off the less fit of the population. So we have a bunch of people, pretty much, if the earth is regulating itself, he's going to get rid of the lesser group. So in warfare, the strongest person is going to win, obviously. In disease, the more healthiest person is going to win. In famine, the people who can't find food are going to be the ones who die. Those are the people that are lesser in terms of, human population. So he's using the works of Robert Malthus to come up with his theory of what he calls natural selection. So the earth is naturally selecting this group of people to beat this group of people in warfare. The earth is naturally selecting this person to be healthy while this person is sick, right? So this person is also, the earth is naturally selecting these group of people to have food and these group of people to not have food, right? According to Charles Darwin's theory. Who is Charles Darwin? What is his thinking? Is it just basic, purely off of science? Is this thing purely based off of them just wanting to understand nature and science? Let's dig in and see. Okay. In his book, The Descent of Man, he makes a very interesting statement in terms of humans on this planet, right? He says, at some future period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace the savage races throughout the world. When I read this statement, a question comes into my head. Okay, who are the civilized races? And who are the savage races? Right? Because, what do he term to be savage and what do he term to be civilized is the question. Because it's a very powerful statement here. You first have to, that's the first question. Am I the savage? Am I going to be exterminated? I want to know who is the savage and who is the civilized races. This is the full statement of Charles Darwin. He says, at some future period not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized races of man will almost certainly exterminate and replace throughout the world the savage races. At the same time, the anthropomorphous ape, as Professor Schaffenhausen has remarked, will no doubt be exterminated. The break then will be rendered wider, for it will intervene between man and a more civilized state, as we may hope, than the Caucasian and some ape as low as a baboon, instead of as at present between the Negro or Australian and the gorilla. What is he saying? This is a whole word salad. This English language is not our language. That is just not a talking point that a blackity black says. That is the truth. So let's break this down and see exactly what this statement means. What is he saying? The first statement that we read earlier, and a portion of this is clear. At some future period, there will be civilized races that will exterminate the savage races. But what is he saying in the rest of this word salad? At the same time, the anthropomorphous ape, as Professor Schaffenhausen has remarked, will no doubt be exterminated, right? The break would then be rendered wider, for it will intervene between man and a more civilized state, as we may hope, than the Caucasian and some ape as low as the baboon. So the break will be rendered wider. The break will then be rendered wider, meaning that you have Caucasian, you have, the Mongoloid, you got the Negroid, and you got the Australoid, right? Then you got the gorilla, and the orangutan and baboon and whatever after that, right? So what he's saying is that you middle races, once you are exterminated, the break would then be rendered wider between the Caucasian and the baboon. Why? Because there will be no Mongoloid, there will be no Negroid, there will be no Australoid, right? There would just be the Caucasian and then the primate species, beginning with the gorilla, baboon, orangutan, rhesus monkey, etc., etc. That is what he's saying. Is that racist? He considers all black people to be savage, the savage races. He considered all of the Negroid race to be savages. Was Darwin a racist? Is this a racist statement, or is he basing this off of science? Let's dig deeper. This is another statement made by Charles Darwin. It is very true what you say about the higher races of men. Today, people say that race doesn't exist. We're all one race. So if that's the case, what is Darwin talking about? Is Darwin a racist? Is this the white man's science? Let's continue. It is very true what we say about the higher races of men. When high enough replacing and clearing off the lower races, in 500 years, how the Anglo-Saxon will have spread and exterminated whole nations. In consequences, how much the human race, viewed as a unit, will have risen in rank. Once again, this is the white man's language. These are the white man's words. So, we have to break this apart so we can totally understand what this cracker is saying. He states, it is very true that the higher races of men, when high enough, replacing and clearing off the lower races. In 500 years, how the Anglo-Saxon race will have spread and exterminated whole nations. In consequence of how much the human race, viewed as a unit, will have risen in rank. So what he is saying, once the Caucasian, the Anglo-Saxon race, the cracker, have exterminated whole nations, the human race as a unit will have risen, meaning that the Negro race is holding humanity back. The Negro race is holding humanity back. They have to be exterminated in order for humanity to progress. We have to eliminate the Negro race in order for humanity to move forward, meaning that the Negro race is holding humanity back. Is this the white man's science, or is this just purely based off of scientific research and study? What is this? is he basing his thinking off of just pure science? What is the foundation of Charles Darwin and his research? What is he basing this off of? What makes you civilized? What makes you a savage? Is it based? How can a whole group of people be considered that? How can another group of people be considered civilized? Are there savage Europeans? Why is he basing this off of race? Why does he tie these statements in to race? Could it be civilized Negroes? Could it be savage Europeans? These are the questions you have to ask yourself when you're reading the works of Charles Darwin. And if the former was true, that there could be civilized Negroes and savage, Europeans, why isn't he saying that? Why does he put this savage on a particular group of people? Why does he put civilized on a particular group of people? Is Charles Darwin a racist? This isn't just like, I think that, black men jump higher than white boys bullshit. He wants to kill off the savage races. He wants to kill off the savage races. So this is something that we should really be trying to look at for you Negroes that buy into the white man science. Here's another statement by Charles Darwin. I'm posing the question. Was Charles Darwin a racist? It says, lastly, I could show fight on natural selection, having done and doing more for the progress of civilization than you seem inclined to admit. Remember, what risk the nations of Europe ran not so many centuries ago of being overwhelmed by the Turks, and how ridiculous such an idea is now. The more civilized so-called Caucasian races have beaten the Turkish hollow in the struggle for existence. Looking to the world at no very distant date, what an endless number of the lower races will have been eliminated by the higher civilized races throughout the world. This is in his book, once again, The Descent of Man, right? So in his mind, he thinks that humanity has to fight. There's a struggle for existence, and it's based off of race. In his mind, he don't have ideas of, well, maybe we should unify and come together. We should come together and share. No, that's not in his mind. In his mind is struggle for existence. That we're going to take the food from you, or you're going to kill us trying to take the food from you. It's a struggle for existence. There's no such thing as sharing. There's no such thing as coexistence in the mind of Charles Darwin. Because as what you read in the beginning, the very first sentence, he says, he is fighting on natural selection. So he's a promoter of this idea of races fighting in this struggle for existence. Is this science, or is this the white man science? This guy is Thomas Huxley. The reason why he's important is because he is what they call Darwin's bulldog, meaning that he was the one that debated the ideas proposed by Charles Darwin. He will be the ones in the universities promoting this perspective, this white man science. Just a little bit of information on him. President of the Royal Society and founder of the X Club. The X Club was just pretty much a genre of individuals that he selected to go to different universities and debate Darwinian theory of evolution. When you go to the universities today, you got to accept either one of the two things: creation story or the Darwinian theory of evolution. The Darwinian theory of evolution is the one that is being pushed in the colleges and universities. So, for those who are unaware, he also coined the term agnostic. You know, you got a lot of people that are saying that they're agnostic now, right? Agnosticism is simply a person who, you know, says, well, I don't know if God exists because he's unknown and unknowable. I don't really know what it is. I don't know anything, you know. So it's kind of like this bridge to atheism, you know. So these families are interconnected. You know, this individual goes by the name of Francis Galton. Now, the reason why he is so important because he coined the term eugenics. Is eugenics the white man science? Or is this just purely science? This is pure science. Francis Galton is on record stating that the origin, meaning the origin of species, had extinguished his Christian beliefs like a nightmare exposed to the light of day, and had aroused in him a spirit of rebellion against ancient authorities whose positive and unauthenticated statements were contradicted by modern science. Now, this is the cousin of Charles Darwin. So, after reading the works of Charles Darwin, he now is inspired to push this term that we go by even to this day, right? They don't use it today as much as they did some years ago, but eugenics. What is the foundation of this? The foundation of this is based off of Robert Malthus. And you're talking about people that are pretty much 100 years apart. So you have an agenda going on right before your eyes. And then you got people like Cedric Ortega that believes in a Darwin theory of evolution. He stands emphatically on the white man science. He trusts the writings and the philosophies and the mind of the white man. He doesn't question any of the publication, long as it's in an accredited white man magazine, long as it's in accredited white man's university. He doesn't question anything. He just goes by what it is because he believes in his mind that the white man is just doing research. He's just strictly on science. Nothing more, nothing less, just science. Well, I'm here to say that Cedric Ortega and whoever believes that is a fool. They're being tricked and easily duped. by the white man. If we're going to buy into the theory, that means we're buying into our own destruction. As we just read, their agenda is to eliminate the non-white races of the planet, particularly the Negro race. That is what is being said. They believe that humanity is being held back because of the Negro race. Do we see this in current policy today? When you turn on your local news, you see today in this convenience store, 2 armed black men ran into the convenience store. And what is that suggesting? When you could go into Kensington here in Philadelphia and see white people do that more than black people. Why is it only black people they showing on the local news? If I could go to Kensington and stores are literally being shut down because there's so many white people stealing out the stores. It's because they have an agenda. They first dictate what the science should be, and then they manufacture their society around the theories that they come up with. That's not real science. That's the white man's science. What is he talking about when he's talking about the bell curve? On average, black people, score less on the SATs than all the other races. What is the purpose of writing a book like that? We sleep on the fact that what they're doing is a well-organized agenda. The bell curve. What would be the purpose of that? Well, the bell curve is proving what Robert Malthus, Charles Darwin, Francis Galton is saying. That the black race is holding humanity back. That's the bigger picture. See, we get caught up on, you trying to say we dumb. Yeah, they're trying to say you dumb, but it's for a reason. They're not just want to say you dumb just because, you're black and you're dumb. That's not the end all to the whole thing. No, they're saying that because you're dumb, you should be eliminated. Why? Because you're holding humanity back. Goes back to this theory. Why are black men filling up the prisons? It's been certain theories suggesting that black people are genetically prone to crime. Very interesting. Black, just because I'm black, then I'm going to be a criminal? So they turn around and they design the society to justify their theory. And it's based off the fact that they just want to eliminate you. Is that science? Okay, so I find that to be very interesting done with the black on black crime, because in terms of criminality, nobody ain't got shit on the white man. He killed off populations of people, raped, robbed, pillaged, and plundered nations. He subjugates people with his military to this very day. He declares war on nature. The animals are being housed in these facilities just to be looked at. He's enslaved the animals. He called it zoo. Some of you niggas like going to the zoo. But the animal doesn't want to be in the zoo. You say, well, the animals aren't, for the most part, animals aren't wilding out. That's because they house nigga animals. They are outside of their natural state of being. So he studies the animals. He studies the animals. Studies the behavior of the animals. He wants to control the animals. And he wants to control you, black man. But he also wants to eliminate you. So how is he pointing a finger at anybody, calling them a criminal? How is he trying to say that black people are prone to crime when he designed his whole being around eliminating large populations? He designed weapons that destroy populations. They call it weapons of mass destruction. He manufactures those things. He comes up with new subversive ways of killing. The regular gun wasn't enough. He had to create the machine gun. He had to create the AR-15. He had to create the submarine missiles. And he had to create the bombs and grenades and all different types of instruments of death and destruction that he manufactures daily that takes human life. And he calls somebody else the criminal. Here in the hells of North America, he has done the most atrocious things in the history of humanity. He has taken smallpox blankets that was infected with smallpox and gave it to the natives. In Australia, he poisoned the water to eliminate the indigenous people, the Aborigines in Australia. He has taken a group of people off the continent and enslaved them, brutal form of enslavement. And then he has the nerve to call somebody else a criminal. Who is the criminal of the world? Is it the black man? So, getting back into the white man science, we see that Francis Galton, he came up with the theory of eugenics, right? And you have two forms of eugenics. You have positive eugenics and you have negative eugenics. Positive eugenics will be the promotion and the manufacturing, for lack of a better word, of the better races, which we now know, according to Charles Darwin, would be the Caucasian race, the Anglo-Saxon race. And negative eugenics would be the elimination of the undesired races. Once again, according to Darwin, which would be the Negro race. So, for all the black people listening, that will be you. Is this science? Or is this the white man science? And we have people like Cedric Ortega would be like, well, you know, that's what they did in the past, and they eventually changed. They eventually changed, and they don't do this anymore. That's why we call people like him a fool. You really think that just a snap of a finger that he changed his whole philosophy that he's been promoting and studying for hundreds of years? Or is he more subversive with what he's doing? We'll get into that in a second. Let's dig now into the Huxley family. I think that this is important that we understand the Huxley family connection. Thomas Huxley, as well we know, he is the individual that was Darwin's bulldog. He would debate the theory of evolution. He created the X Club, in which promoted the Darwinian theory of evolution into colleges and universities. All right. So this is his grandson, Julian Huxley. He wrote over 50 books on evolutionary biology, evolution, and eugenics. So all that stuff, according to Julian Huxley, when you read his books, are all tied in together. evolutionary biology, evolution, and eugenics. Right? Julian Huxley was the first director of UNESCO, that's the United Nations Education, Science, and Cultural Organization. And he was vice president and president of the British Eugenic Society. And he coined the phrase transhumanism. We're getting into that phase of transhumanism today. You know, the blurring of the genders and all the different things that you see is something that they were talking about years ago. This is nothing that they did not plan. All right. This was coined by Julian Huxley. Right. So, Aldous Huxley, this is the grandson also of Julian Huxley. Thomas H. Huxley, brother of Julian Huxley. He is the individual that was the novelist of the two. You know, he was the one that, even though Julian Huxley wrote more books than him, he would, write fictional books, and it was all designed or based off of, their ideas of eugenics, Brave New World. This is something that I believe somebody made a movie. A movie was off of this book. And a lot of the stuff, like when you look at Demolition Man, it was based off of his book, The Brave New World. So The Brave New World is pretty much a book that he wrote where in the world state, humans were artificially developed and they were brainwashed into believing in the value of the state through a process called hypnopedia or Wikipedia, or what they call sleep teaching. Humans were then divided into distinct classes: alphas, betas, gammas, deltas, epsilon. Ironically, alphas, or the elite class, fit eugenic standards in terms to height, stature, skin, hair, eye coloration, meaning that the alpha and the betas, all of them, were blonde hair, blue-eyed crackers. Right? The stark contradiction would be the epsilons, who were artificially developed in test tubes, and they were made through genetic modification tactics to be inferior. So from their very development, they had the technology of manufacturing an inferior race that will be a very sophisticated of producing negative eugenics, right? Not allowing nature to take its natural course. They will go against the fabric of nature and design a race of people through genetic manipulation to be inferior. Is that science? Or is that the white man's science? He was also an advocate of psychedelic drugs. Da 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 da. All right. So he influenced this man by the name of Terence McKenna, who came up with a theory called the Stone Ape Theory. The Stone Ape Theory is pretty much suggesting that the jump between the Homo erectus to the Homo sapien was based off of the diet of the Homo erectus, who decided to eat mushrooms, which expounded his thinking and began the evolutionary process of him transitioning into modern man. So it was because of mushrooms that the Homo erectus began to develop intellectually into today what we call Homo sapien, right? Okay, so he says that he was heavily influenced by this man, Pierre Theodore de Chardin. Who was this guy? He was a Jesuit priest. paleontologist and geologist. He was the author of The Future of Man and The Phenomenon Man, where he speaks on the evolution of consciousness. You know, some of the points made by Terence McKenna, soulmate theory. He was also a proponent of eugenics and population control. These individuals are interconnected. Make no doubt about it. That you know, and that's the thing. You think that people just be doing independent research? No. Their research is to fit an agenda. It's well funded. They have the resources to do it. So this guy over here, he's a geologist. This guy is a philosophy, and this guy is the person that's going to push into the minds of the common people through a media, from a propaganda. In today's society, as opposed to writing a book, this probably would have been a movie that was made by Julian Huxley. I mean, by Aldous Huxley is his name, right? This is an agenda. This is an agenda. They are all affiliated, communicating and socializing with each other. Just something to keep in mind as we move forward, because when we dig deeper, Pierre Tiltard de Chardin was the paleontologist behind the Piltdown Man hoax. What is the Piltdown Man hoax? The Piltdown Man hoax was a paleoanthropological hoax in which bone fragments were presented as the fossilized remains of previously unknown early human. A paleontologist is the one who studies the fossils. So he's the one that's saying that, you know what, this is legit. These fossils are legit, and we have discovered an early form of humans, right? Is this the white man's science? Or is this just pure science? Why do he have to fossilize skeletal evidence? Why do they have to manufacture a hoax? What is the agenda behind them manufacturing the hoax? Is it based off of pure science? Are they studying science and want just to know the truth? Or is there an agenda that is more important to this paleontologist? Who is funding this project? What are they looking for? These are the questions that you should ask yourself when you're doing this research. Because this hoax lasted 40 years. This was a 40-year hoax. This was a 40-year hoax. Think about that. This served as the foundation of what you call scientific racism. Look at all these people interconnected. The foundation of evolution. This is the very root that evolution sprang from. Understand the chart. Understand the foundation. Is it based purely off of science? I haven't seen not one of these individuals whose research was just based purely off of science. Yet the black man, Negroes like Cedric Ortega, they don't question the research of the white man. A lot of their publications was in the Book of Nature. the magazine Nature that they hold so dearly. Which, when you dig deep enough, you see that Thomas Huxley played a role in the creation of that magazine. Know your history. Because it best qualifies the research. Look at the history of the white man. Was there ever a time that he did stuff just purely off the science? Anthropology, archaeology, genetics. Don't you know genetic today was eugenics then? They just changed the name. Something that you have to keep in mind. When you catch the white man, he'll just change the name. This is how arrogant these motherfuckers is. They'll just change the name on your ass. Call it something else. And promote the same thing. You know? Why is this important? What does that have to do with today? You know, people say, well, that was the past, Solar. Why are you always talking about shit in the past? You know, we already dealt with that. We know that, you know, the white man was oppressing us and he was doing all these hideous things. He don't do that no more. He don't do those things no more. We marched and we got, you know, we're making progress to equality. Why are you still talking about this stuff? Well, when you're digging more into the history, you'll see that when you have statements like Margaret Sanger, this woman who was funded by American philanthropists, the things that she constructed, the ideas that she promoted, the people whom in which she was associated with, you see that the agenda still exists. A statement from Margaret Sanger. Most of the unfit. Who are the unfit? Where does this term come from? Is this term rooted in science? So what you're seeing is not them, you know, because what's unfit in this day and time was uncivilized 100 years ago. Same agenda, different terms. More subversive, more covert, more sophisticated as the years go on. Agenda, the same. Most of the unfit could be persuaded instead of forced into birth control if enough propaganda was directed at them. So this is taking it a step further from what we've seen $200 some odd years ago. That this was like this ongoing struggle and this fight for existence and this struggle for life and preservation of the favorite races. And certainly the higher races will exterminate. You know, they were more outright now. Margaret Sanger is coming up with a different idea. She believes that, okay, we could use a more covert form to accomplish the same goal. Same agenda, different tactic. Feminism and eugenics. Oh, this is a very sensitive subject to some people. Feminism and eugenics. Margaret Singer says, what made Margaret Singer different from other eugenicists, such as Francis Galton, Davenport, Osborne? Frederick Osborne was the then head of the Eugenics Society going into the 1940s, late 1940s, early 1950s. She says, she was a woman, and more importantly, she used social activism to promote eugenics. She made contraceptive use and abortion into a women's rights issue. Is this science or is this the white man's science? And I'm a person that believes under certain circumstances, you should get an abortion. But is that what they're doing? Is they're just basing it off of maybe a woman who was unfortunately raped? Is this basing off of, okay, maybe due to certain health things that a person can't have babies, and if they're pregnant, they are not healthy enough to have the baby? No, they are targeting populations with this. Look at the abortion clinics in the Black community. They give us easy access to destroy our children. So this isn't based purely off of science. Understand this. This isn't based purely off of science. There's an agenda behind what they are doing. Do know that. And if you don't know that, just read the works of Margaret Sanger, because she tells you what she's doing. She wants to promote eugenics and disguise it under women's activism. Look at the circle that she's entertaining. She's fraternizing, communicating, networking with people who are eugenicists, people who are promoters of population control, people who wants to decline the Black population. So she comes up in the Birth Control Review and also the Eugenics magazine at the time with what she termed as the Negro Project. Of those Black leaders recruited by Singer were Adam Clayton Powell Jr., W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King. One of the tactics that they said if we could get some Black physicians to make Blacks more comfortable while in birth control clinics and making contraceptives cheap and accessible. Once again, you see ultimately that there is an agenda that's being orchestrated. Once again, she's fraternizing, she's communicating with, she's associated with people who are eugenists, people who are involved in the KKK. Lothrop's daughter, he wrote the book, The Rising Tide of Color in the World of White Supremacy is the total title. Get into the history. Understand the foundation. Who funded Singer? Now we're getting somewhere. Since we know, somewhat a good portion of the, history. John D. Rockefeller was one of the funders of Margaret Singer. Somebody need to do an expose on the Rockefellers and how they funded Nazi Germany. It's a fact. It's true. And he was also a co-creator of the Population Council, that in which exists today. Another founding member was Frederick Osborne. Who was Frederick Osborne? Remember, Frederick Osborne was the president of the American Eugenics Society in the 1940s and the early 1950s. Are you a fool? Are you easily duped? How is this acceptable? John D. Rockefeller funded projects that killed off millions of people, from Nazi Germany to Margaret Sanger. You trust their population council? You allow them into your nations? You allow them into your communities? Is what they're doing based purely off of science? Or is this the white man's science? Frederick Osborne, head of the Eugenics Society. John Foster Dulles, a supporter of Nazi Germany, when you do the research. What do these three have in common? Eugenics, population control, the elimination of the undesirable races. Same agenda, different tactic. So what they do, they begin to design different forms of population control that they begin to implement onto third world nations. They just become more sophisticated over time. Do the research. Read the works. Read the writings of the white man. Understand that throughout history, you have individuals like Henry Kissinger. National Security Studies Memorandum 200. He's saying that the problem with the world, lesser developed countries, same agenda, different terms. Lesser developed countries was third world countries of 50 years ago. Before that, they were the lesser developed nations, right? Before that, they were the lower races. They were the unfit. They were the savages. Same agenda, different terminology. What is the problem, according to Henry Kissinger? Overpopulation is the problem, according to this National Security Studies Memorandum 200. That we got to find ways of lowering the births within these lesser developed countries. Somehow, what he says fits hand in glove into the racist agenda of his forefathers a generation or so ago. So, with that being said, okay, we could are you there, Creamer?
Yeah, I'm right here.
You could open the chat up for anybody who has questions or wants to make a comment pertaining to the information presented. I see Cedric was in the chat room. You could come up here and get that work.
Yeah, definitely jump on the panel. Don't hide behind the curtains.
You know? So, yes, that is a presentation. I hope it was edifying. Cedric says, a whole presentation built on and this is what I'm talking about right here. He says, a whole presentation built on a logical fallacy, appeal to emotion, based in fear mongering and conspiracy theory. Interesting statement, isn't
Yeah,
it, Kareem?
definitely come explain why and how.
Interesting statement. Let's take what he's saying apart, right? Logical fallacy, right? Okay, let's do this, right? This is what we're going to do, right? What is a logical fallacy? Let's just see.
Exactly the definition. We gotta.
Yeah, let's take this apart. Logical fallacy, right? Logical fallacies are errors in reasoning that undermine the validity of an argument. They can be used to mislead or distract from the truth, or to win an argument by appealing to emotions rather than reason. Okay. Understanding and avoiding logical fallacies is crucial for effective communication and critical thinking. Okay, so based off of the definition, right? What in the presentation was a logical fallacy? What in the presentation was a logical? What an error in reasoning that undermines the validity of an argument, right? I simply showed you what they said, the research that they did, the agenda that they created. Now, I use the term cracker and this and that, but that had absolutely nothing to do with what I was presenting, because it was from the mouth of the individuals that was presenting the information. Robert Malthus said what he said. I didn't misrepresent Robert Malthus. Charles Darwin referred to Negroes as savage races. Francis Galton came up with the term eugenics. Margaret Sanger, she began to implement forms of birth control onto the Black community, disguising it with social activism. This is what they literally said. So we're accustomed to, we got to create a term for what Cedric does. A whole presentation based on logical fallacy, appeal to emotion based in fear mongering and conspiracy theory. Okay, so appeal to emotion. I think that's a very important statement. Appealing to emotion. Well, I can honestly say that the stuff I say or the stuff that I present can appeal to one's emotion. Right, Karima? Like if I'm telling you, Karima.
Yeah, it definitely.
Yeah, if I'm telling you, Karima, like, yo.
It's not appealing to my emotions though. So who are you?
No. I mean, it could honestly appeal to you. If I'm telling you, Karima, like, yo, guess what? You know, that girl down the street says she's going to come down, pull your hair out, and punch you in the face. You can get upset with that. You can say, you know what? You find out that's true and you get upset with that. Cedric will be like, well, he was just appealing to your emotion.
Exactly.
That's what she said she was going to do. So if she get mad as a result of that, how is that even, the point that I'm making is, how is that even a rebuttal to what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So we know ultimately that if I say something that's going to affect your life, it should appeal to your emotions. And it's not appealing to your emotions like I'm trying to convince you of something, that you're going to naturally have an emotional reaction from it. So what does the statement really mean? It goes back into the white man's science. You know, within the white man's science, he's saying that we're closer to the gorilla, Karima. That's his theory. We're closest to the gorilla, right? Now, some people say, you know, some people think that that means that he's trying to say we look like the gorilla. We look more like the monkeys and all that type of stuff. That's not what the actual scientists of that time was saying. That's something that a redneck cracker thought he was talking about. Look at the monkeys, black, his fur is black and the nigga's black. No, that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is that on the evolutionary scale, we're closest to the monkey, right? That's why we are stronger than other groups of people, but we're less intelligent than the other groups of people. And one of the reasons why we are less intelligent is because, similar to the monkey, we get too emotional at times. We're overly emotional. We don't know when to sit back and use logic, you know, assess things from a less emotional standpoint. This is all white man's thinking, white man's science, based off of the ontology of the white man. The reason why he is saying that, because he has no goddamn soul. So he has no emotion. He has no emotion. So he tried to manufacture his science, saying that that's somehow less evolved. This is what he's trying to say. So your appeal to emotion statement is rooted, once again, in white man science. He thinks like the white man. So he says a whole presentation based on logical fallacies, appeal to emotion based in fear mongering and conspiracy theory. We talked about this before, Karima. Conspiracy theory, right? Conspiracy theory. So I see Cedric ran. He must have seen the rest of the presentation and got his ass up out of here. That's what that was. Cedric seeing that this wasn't rooted in any of those things he's saying, and he got the fuck up out of here. That's what Cedric did.
Cedric doing what he do best is, run, because that's what I'm seeing lately. Most of this discussions that's been about his information, he don't come and challenge it from on the panel. He always doing it from the comment section and disappearing. Now I'm beginning to think he's just a runner.
He's just a runner. He's a running man. Running man. Do the running man, Cedric. I told you, Cedric the entertainer. He's gonna do a lot of that running man tactics. So conspiracy theory. What is a conspiracy theory? Where did this term come from? What is the foundation of a conspiracy theory that a conspiracy theory?
They need new ones because they finding out that them was, already been proven otherwise.
A belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or phenomenon. A belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or phenomenon. Okay. This is not a conspiracy theory, what I'm showing. It's a conspiracy fact. This is what they said they were doing. How is it a conspiracy theory when they say, like, you know what? Yeah, we're doing this. Yeah, let's design, okay, eugenics is a term that, is not accepted by the public now. Let's change the term to genetics. Is that a conspiracy theory? It's not a belief. No, that's a fact. That's what they did. That's exactly what they did. What are you talking about? It's just a bunch of garbage. He just gives you terms to make it sound like he knows something when he's totally clueless about what's going on. It's clear. He tries to use terms that he learned from the white man. All those terms we just read, he got from the white man. So somebody say, well, all the stuff that you read was from the white man. Yes, that's very true. That's very true. But see, the difference is I'm reading you his agenda, what he's doing. He's just giving some stupid term to try to dismiss something and pretend as if it's not happening. For example, we go back to the analogy of Karima. I'm like, yo, the girl down the street said she was going to pull your hair out and punch you in the face. And she turns around and says to me, like, well, why do you say that? Look, I recorded her saying that. Look, play. The girl saying that. Oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory. What are you talking about? That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. I just showed you. It's a fact. These are the games that they try to play. In denial. And we're not talking about the river in Africa. He's in denial. He doesn't want to engage the information. It's a way of dismissing information that they can't explain. Why can't they explain the information, Karima? Because they haven't done the research. They don't know where to begin. They're in over their heads. They don't know where to begin. They don't know who Robert Malthus was. They don't know who Thomas Huxley and Julian Huxley and Aldous Huxley is. They didn't study the Piltdown Man hoax. They haven't read all the works of Margaret Sanger. They don't know who Frederick Osborne is. They didn't know who created the Population Council. So that has to be a conspiracy theory, which is once again rooted in an inferiority complex. There's no way that a black man is giving them information that they don't already know. They think like the white man. So when you're seeing those type of statements, understand the foundation of where it's coming from. Some guy espousing off different terms and trying to sound like he knows something.
That's it. His whole statement sound like a white man. Your whole presentation is built on logical fallacy, appealing to emotions based on fear. And like, get your ass up here and talk.
Exactly. So what's going on? This is part one, because we're going to do a part two, Karima. I'm going to do a part two. We're going to bring Cedric out. Pull him out. Expose Cedric.
Get over here.
You can't be sitting back, running your mouth, pretending as if you are a true scholar when you're not. Promoting the white man's theory. I find it very interesting that a group of people that clearly showed you that they are your enemy, that you agree with everything that they say. That is very interesting. That is very interesting that you don't question nothing that this beast say. Nothing is questioned. I mean, I look at some of his presentations and I'm like, why do I gotta listen to him? I could just go and listen to the white man. He's just regurgitating the same shit the white man says.
That's what I say. Like,
Yeah, like what the fuck I'm listening to you for? You know what I'm saying? Only difference is that they play rap music in the beginning of their show. Like they play some rap music or like a rap beat in the beginning of their show. The white man doesn't do that. So I mean, like that's the only difference. They either go straight to the white man's information after that. You know? Understand that you are at war.
It seemed like when you're watching them, it's like we're watching them investigate the information because they regurgitating it. They ain't coming from like information that they really actually studied and really got into. It's just they recapping something that they seen a white man say or put out.
That's an absolute fact. You could tell there's no really critical thinking involved in what they're doing. There's no breakdown, analytical analysis. You know what I'm saying? They kind of comparative studies. Let's look at the other side and see what these other people, because you got doctors, people with the same credentials saying the opposite of what they believe in. They never show that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like that,
it's research.
Right, exactly. And then everything is rooted in politics. Who you think funding these motherfuckers? Where they getting the money for this research from? Follow the money trail. See what their agenda is. Because really, these are the quote unquote experts. See, the reason why they do, like what I was just showing with the Piltdown Man hoax. That's a hoax that lasted 40 years, right? And they'll say something like, well, it was through, scientific analysis that they found out it was a hoax. The hoax lasted 40 years, bro. It could be that, or it could be that the hoax served its purpose. It's no longer needed now. You can move on now. Yeah, we were lying about that. You still trust these motherfuckers? You know what I'm saying? You still trust these motherfuckers? Showing you that they lying. And we can get into modern day stuff that they're doing to this very day. To this very day. Same stuff, different wording. This idea of the black on black crime and they're doing away of even with the DEI programs and all this type of stuff, and they want to implement these new policies of it's just this idea. It's still rooted in the same racist agenda. Rooted in the same racist agenda. Not adding nothing into the scenario that condemns them. Just think about anthropology in general, right? You have some cracker, right? He's going into Australia. He's digging up the bones. He's in Native American sacred places. He's over in Egypt. He's in the jungle in Asia. He's in South Africa. He's studying different areas. He's in the Amazon. He's over there. He's over there. He's under the water. Who is studying him? Think about that. I can't turn on the TV and see like a group of Africans. Yeah, we're in the Caucasus Mountains, and let's look at these caves and see how the white man's, see where the white man originated at. Let's go into the caves and study the fossils. We have a research team from Nigeria that's going into the Caucasus Mountains. You don't see no shit like that because they're not going to allow you into those areas. Hell, they won't allow you into your own areas. You know, they created an Aswan Dam, right? They put water, right? This is going into East Africa, right? Places like Tanzania and those different areas, right? They flooded the Aswan Dam, right? And in the water is artifacts, temples, mounds, different things, you know? And the Jews is a theory that suggests that the Jews did it because a lot of those temples is going to show you the origins of the Bible, you know, showing that, you know, this is rooted in the continent of Africa. This is what is being suggested. So it seems like to me, right, that they hide stuff when it doesn't benefit them. They manipulate stuff to benefit them. What are these? Who are they? Where do they come from? That should be the question going into the minds of the masses. What is the white man? What is it? Why is it so relentless and diabolical, subversive, sneaky, deceptive? Where do he come from? Let's go into his place of origin and dig up his secret places. Let's study the Caucasus Mountains. When you look at the nature of this beast, you would think that he's like a virus, like a cancer cell that eats away at the body of the planet. Everything he touches destroys it. He manipulates it and he makes it one of him. Like the cancer is spreading. That's what Ortega is. That's what Cedric is. He's been manipulated by the cancer cell of white supremacy. And he's actually become the cancer. And now he's doing what the cancer does. That's where you get that term from. You get the, now he's talking like the white man. He thinks like the white man. Logical fallacy, appeal to emotion, fear-mongering, and conspiracy theory. Going back into conspiracy theory, let's see where did conspiracy theory, let's Google that. Where did conspiracy theory originate? It says let me see. This is this is the thing with this AI shit, right? They're not even saying where it came from. Now they're trying to say they say it comes from multiple places. It's not even telling you like well, the answer is more probable. The term generally has a negative connotation, implying so that's I don't even tell you where it comes from. Conspiracy theories tend to be eternally consistent or correlated with each other. Okay, let's see. That's not giving us an answer. Okay, so this is what it says. It says, early examples of psychological roots, right? So, this, hey, Karima, bro. Let me tell you, man, this white man's a devil, bro. Look at what this guy can do, right? Instead of just telling you where it came from, this is what he's doing. He says, early examples and psychological roots. What the fuck does that mean? So we're going to read that. It says, human tendency towards explanation. Humans have a natural inclination to make sense of the world, and seek explanation for events, especially those that are mysterious or impactful. So it's not telling you where the term came from. It's giving an explanation as to why people would result to what they deemed as a conspiracy theory. Not that that's where it originated. So human tendency towards explanation. So, yes, it was always a situation when humans use things to explain shit. They wasn't calling that a conspiracy theory, though. So, where did the conspiracy theory originate? It wasn't like somebody said, well, I believe that God created the heavens and the earth. And then somebody said, well, that's a conspiracy theory. It may be people that disagree with it, but they wasn't using the term conspiracy theory to attack it. So it's like a manipulation. This white man's a devil, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's all to kind to cloud the issue. Just tell me where it originated at.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it finally gets to where the term originated. It says, assassination of JFK. The assassination of President John F. Kennedy is a pivotal moment as it fueled widespread speculation and distrust in official narratives, leading to the proliferation of conspiracy theories surrounding the event. And then it still doesn't really tell you that that's where it originated at. Ooh, devil, bro. Devil, slick devil. That's what I'm telling y'all with this internet shit, bro. They will design something, right? And the way they word shit is very important. That's why, once again, the fact that we use his language is a disadvantage to us because it's his language. See how he worded this shit? He never said that that's where it originated at. When that's where it originated at. It originated with the John F. Kennedy assassination. So it gave you all this other shit, right? The way they word shit, right? It never, in all the explanations, it never said this is where the term came from. What it's doing is what they think a conspiracy theory is what they're saying. Like, okay, well, I think that religion is a conspiracy theory. So these religious people were back then, saying X, Y, and Z, and we believe that is a conspiracy theory. That's not telling you if I typed in where did a conspiracy theory originate. That's not giving me an answer. You know what I'm saying? That's clouding the issue. It gives you examples, historical examples of what they think a conspiracy theory is, right? Just tell me where the word began. Like, for example, when I was doing a PowerPoint presentation, I showed you who coined the term. I showed you who coined the term agnostic. It just tells you right away, okay, this was the person who coined the term agnostic. Eugenics. This is the person who coined the term eugenics. Francis Galton. Who created the theory of evolution? Charles Darwin. I don't turn around and say like, well, yeah, the theory of evolution, goes back centuries, and there was, when the planet, stars, and the quasars were developing, they were evolving. That's what it's saying. So that's how it's answering. Like, you know what I mean? So technically, that's the theory of evolution. That's how it's answering the question. It's not answering anything. Yeah, depending on what type y'all start, yeah, just let me know what time y'all start. I can host it. I can host a debate, man. So just a tricky devil, a tricky beast. He's real tricky, real crafty. Yeah, I mean that's what I did. The AI, that's even worse, man. You digging into that, So let's see. Let's use the AI. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is what it's saying now. Interesting stuff. This is interesting stuff. It's saying, right? Okay, so it says the earliest known use of the term conspiracy theory was by Charles Astor Bristed in a letter to the editor of the New York Times on January 11th, 1863. He used the term to describe claims that British aristocrats were intentionally weakening the United States during the American Civil War to advance their financial interests. While the concept of conspiracy theories existed before this, Bristed use is the earliest documented example of the phrase in print. So,
but they said Karl Popper used it in 1948 or something like that. He was the first one to use it. I guess the other one was the second one to really push the line on it.
Right. So it says conspiracy theories coined long before John F. Kennedy assassination. So once again, they changed shit. Because before, like a few years ago, you simply just Google who created it. They just go right to the John F. Kennedy assassination. It says claims the term conspiracy theory or conspiracy theorists were created by the Central Intelligence Agency following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy as a way to discredit people who doubted the government's official reports. AP's assessment.
Get says, up here.
Following the National Archives release last month for an additional documentary to Kennedy's death, interested in long-standing myths about the president's has researched on social media. Among these myths is what some scholars have called a meta conspiracy theory. The belief that the CIA, as part of an unproven cover-up, coined the term conspiracy theory to discredit people who accuse the CIA of orchestrating Kennedy's death. So not only that they are changing what initially was coined conspiracy theory, they also is continuing to push the false narrative of the official story of the John F. Kennedy assassination with, the one bullet theory, and then we get into this whole thing about pseudo, Cedric, the link is there. Cedric, hit the link. Hit the link, bro. Hit the link. So not only that they are remixing what was termed as a conspiracy theory a time ago, they're still standing on this idea that the single bullet theory is what killed John F. Kennedy, which is why they had to create this term conspiracy theory in the first place, which we know for a fact that shit is pseudo. The link is there, Cedric. Hit the link. Hit the link, brother. Hit the link. If not, just be a chat rat. Now, who's debating tonight, Karima?
Yeah, Orthodox Moore.
Orthodox Moore, who?
Silky.
I can't even hear.
Silky D.
Okay. I don't know what time they're supposed to be starting.
In like 8 more minutes.
Okay. All right, well, then I'll just go ahead and close out. Cedric is still on the run. It's okay though, because we're gonna be doing a part 2 when we breaking down some more of this. We breaking down some more of this white man science. We got to pull you out the woodworks, you know. So you're still running. You're still running from me, Cedric. I mean, I got the debate. You know what I'm saying? We could debate about the origins of the AIDS virus. You know what I'm saying? I'm throwing that out there. You try to debate that, I could clean you up real easy. You know what I'm saying? Clean you up real easy on the topic.
I'm surprised the indigenous black man ain't on none of this.
Don't want none of this smoke. All right, so I appreciate the time, Karima. I guess you could shoot me the link for the debate. They want me to host a debate, whatever.
I got you.
All right. Peace to the family. Part 2 will be coming out within a week or so. All right. So peace.
Yeah, we got you.
I want you and that young man to tie that knot. I'm gonna pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes.
It's the old die,
get out the lines then. He helped get off the island.
Let me get straight to the business. Yeah. Got them lions in the building. Yeah. Why you lying to the children? Yeah. Why you lying to the children? RIGHTEOUS. Man, you know I've been to bed. Man, they know contest. Yahuwah, he do the best. We will not see you tomorrow. Cause you cannot go to thought. All the sons and all the daughters. Standing hard with big manotas. But my son, he made me Taurus. On that line, I'm still a Taurus. Karate kicking Chuck Norris, 4-5 on my waist. If he started, would not hesitate to get retarded. Oh lordy, he ain't got a PowerPoint, he farted. He's running to the hills like a Philistine. Jihad hitting Hamites with the guillotine. Situation turned up with the Ratchet team. JJ 7000 to debate me. I know them haters gon' hate me, but he won't debate me. Pistol off safety. Respond, come wake me. If I don't get up, nigga, shake me. Really give me If he don't show up, then he fake G. I touch down and make these nigga nuts hate me. Dear brother, ballin' and crawling all the way from H-Time. Let me get straight to the business. Man, them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Why you lying to them children? You gon' cry, you gon' get it. Me, I'm like a frog, nigga, ribbit. Of course, it's in the spirit. I just got the Porsche, she can steer it. Mito got the raw, Shack and Willie. Lamborghini doors, you better not spill it. Mama's high, say I'm more than just a villain. Mama's cry, I'm dope and wide for her children. Suicide, immortalized as a realist, yeah. Death by cop, black suicide. Let me get straight to the business. Got them lions in the building. Why you lying to them children? Yeah. Why you lying to them children? R-I-G-H-T-E-O-U-S. Man, you know I've been